Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to KHM Today, your weekly resource for industry news and straight up fun. I'm your host, Carolyn Orff, and today is September 27th, 2023. I hope everyone is having a great week so far. You may notice that I am not in my usual setting. I am at a hotel right now in Houston. I am here to celebrate our two KHM semifinalists in the Carnival Cruise Line Your Winning Plan event that will be happening later on this afternoon. So I flew down this morning to cheer them on along with several other KHM agents, and we're really excited to see if Lily or Kim Stanley win the big prize this afternoon. So congratulations to them both. There were thousands of applicants, and KHM has 2 of the 8 semifinalists. So we're very excited to be here. But today we are celebrating World Tourism Day, which is just perfect for our industry. And when we think about this, I hope that we all think of not only our love for travel and our favorite destinations, but also how we keep these destinations in the condition that we need them to be in so we can visit them for many years to come. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. This past summer for Luxury Symposium, we had the pleasure of hearing from our first guest today, Ken Muskat, Managing Director of Scenic Cruises, during our Luxury Symposium. His keynote was a huge hit, and I knew that I needed to recruit him for this very special day so that he could speak to a wider audience. And so please welcome Ken Muskat here to speak about Scenic Cruises' Cherish the Planet Initiative. Hi, Ken.
Hi, Carolyn. It's a pleasure to be here, especially on World Tourism Day. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. And you'll see on the side, we will have some comments here from some of our wonderful people that tune in every week. Pam, great to see you. Andrea, Gina, so wonderful to see you. I'm so glad that you were able to join us today, because I love when I go to do research on a supplier and this message is loud and clear that they care about the people who work there, the places they're visiting, the ships that they're building, and just the environmental aspect of cruising. So on your website, it says, Scenic's Cherish the Planet is more than sustainability. It's a commitment to creating positive change, to sustainability practices and rich community partnerships. We aim to leave as small a footprint as possible. This is like a huge undertaking. How do you manage to work through each of these components really on a daily basis or as a whole company vision?
Yeah, I'm so happy you brought this up, especially on World Tourism Day, as you mentioned. The fact of the matter is, look, we're in the cruise industry, which is just absolutely amazing. But if these destinations and these communities did not exist, we wouldn't have nowhere to go. And so it's our priority and it's our responsibility to make sure that we protect them, we keep them beautiful, and we make sure that it's not only a great place for our guests to visit for years and years to come, but it's a great place that can thrive and we can benefit the communities and support the communities so we can keep this going. So we have, as you mentioned, we have a program called Cherish the Planet. And basically, and this is for Scenic Luxury Cruises and Tours and Emerald Cruises. As you know, we have 23 river ships across the 2 brands, and we have 2 ocean yachts on the Emerald brand, and then 2 expedition ocean yachts on the Scenic brand. So we've got a good number of ships that are traveling globally around the world. So we created Cherish the Planet so we can have sort of 6 components that, to your point, is not only about sustainability, but it's about a number of other things as well. The 6 components are around leaving no waste print, their rebalancing of CO2 emissions, sourcing sustainably, growing within the communities that we visit, growing from within, so valuing the diversity that we have in our employees, both shoreside and on board, as well as the 6th point, an advocate for health, safety, and security. And so each one of these things, as you can imagine, have a laundry list of areas that we need to tackle. And it is something that we think about every single day in everything that we do as we develop our deployment, as we build new ships, as we look at technology, we look at fuel efficiencies, we look at shore power, we look at all these things that are so important for everywhere that we go for the entire cruise industry. So a few examples, when you talk about, the first point of leaving no waste, this is really around our eliminating single-use plastics on board, which I'm very happy on behalf of the whole cruise industry that most cruise brands are really doing this today. We have already eliminated all the single-use plastics. We've saved more than 2 million in plastic bottles, or 2 million less plastic bottles that we've used in the last 2 years, which is a pretty big number. And by doing this, we remove all the plastic drink bottles, straws. We offer complimentary bottles to guests on board in their staterooms so they can refill at the water stations throughout the cruise, as well as introduce refillable toiletries in our suites with our premium spa brands. So that's an example of how we're making sure that we have no waste on board. We're also focused on the rebalancing of CO2 emissions, the second point. So this is really around fuel efficiency. This is making sure that the emissions that each guest produces while on board our journey decreases each year from a guest to guest perspective. So even though we're growing, we're building more ships, so that obviously means more emissions, but we want to make sure that the average emissions from a guest is reduced every single year. And there's a number of different ways that we continue to make sure that we do that. And we actually work with third parties who evaluate the number of guests that we carry on an annual basis and the percentage of emissions that we get from those guests to make sure that we are reducing, and we have specific targets in place to achieve that. Sourcing sustainably is the third point, which is really, really interesting to me. I met with our head of F&B and hotel operations, who takes this so to heart in every single thing that we do. We cruise through Europe, Asia, the Americas, all over the world, and we source fresh produce from the local markets. And we even grow herbs in our herb garden on board some of our ships that have it. So this way we decrease the impact to the soil and the water, and make sure that our impact on the communities is only positive because we're sourcing locally. Not only does it give the guests a great experience because they're eating from locally sourced areas, but it allows us to make sure that we're really supporting the communities. And I've seen situations where on Scenic Eclipse 1 and 2, we have 2 helicopters on board. Sometimes we will take the helicopters locally. We will go land somewhere. We'll collect seaweed. We'll collect things from the environment, and it becomes part of the menu that night. So it really is truly sourcing sustainably and locally. Big focus on growing within the communities. We really try to do something beneficial for all the communities that we visit, whether that's helping out schools, whether that's providing clean running water and drinking water in some of the villages that we visit in Cambodia and some other places. We provide food and health supplies and clothing supplies. We even partner with a nonprofit, and I actually just learned this today, to be honest with you. We partner with a nonprofit called Happy Whale. And when we are sailing and we spot whales, we take pictures and we report them to the organization. If it's a whale that they're not already tracking, we actually get to name it, and then they continue tracking that whale. So it's just another, we're already out there sailing in the community, and to be able to provide this kind of data and information is one of our key responsibilities. And then the last two really is from growing from within, valuing diversity. We believe that it's very important for us to treat all crew and employees equally, independent of their gender, sexual orientation, age, race, religion. We want to be a place where everybody wants to come work and enjoy their career. And then we, of course, are an advocate for health and safety and security. I think the whole cruise industry learned more than we ever wanted to learn about that during COVID. And we all came out of it in a much better way, making sure that everything we do, everything we design, every way we build is around the health, safety, and security of our guests and the crew and the communities that we visit. So those are sort of key, 6 key pillars. There's a good number of other things. We don't print anymore on board. We use digital signage. We actually make sure on many of our ships that about 90% of what we offer from a culinary experience is a la carte. So it's made to order, which means that we're reducing the waste significantly. So all of these little things make a big difference. And we don't just we don't just come up with it and then print it and talk about it, but we do it and we come up with new things every single day. The crew is a part of it. Everybody who's living on board is always trying to figure out, how do we protect this destination? How do we do things to make sure that we're being a good partner everywhere that we visit, and that we're keeping the earth healthy.
I think consumers are starting to like expect that.
Oh yes.
And they might not even know that you have it as a written message, but they get on board and they're expecting some of these things. Do you feel like some of the things like the single-use plastic bottles and the sourcing sustainability, do you feel like, or locally, do you feel like some of those things are, the word's not easier, but maybe more manageable with the smaller ship size, that those things can be done because of the ship size, as opposed to some of the mega ships where you're like, there's no way we can source. And I have yet to see a mega ship yet that goes down to that single use, which I love, because I've been that person that takes a case of water somewhere and all you see is bottles with half of it, and then the next one and the next one, because you forget which one's yours. So do you feel it's a little bit more manageable when you've got smaller ships?
Yeah, so two things. One, I agree on your first point. I think not only consumers, not only people that are sailing with us, but even our travel advisor community are way more in tune with the sustainability efforts. And many people today are making decisions on brands that they're going to vacation with based on that. So it is very, very important. The second part of it is, I think the big ships have done a really good job with a lot of these efforts. I mean, there's ways that we paint the hull, and fuel efficiencies and shore power, that doesn't matter the size of the ship, everybody gets to take advantage of it. When you talk about sourcing sustainably and locally, that is something that I do believe the smaller ships really have a great benefit to do. You know, on Scenic Eclipse 1 and 2, we max out at 228 guests. Being able to go to the market and actually source locally for 228 guests is not that hard. It's something that we do on a regular basis. Whereas, you know, on a ship with thousands of people, it's going to, of course, be more difficult. So I do think we have some of those advantages on the smaller luxury ship side.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, I love the number of nationalities that are on the ship. That to me is my favorite part of cruising, is getting to know the crew and their stories and where they're from and why they're there. You know, to not have that experience, especially in the dining room, it's not cruising. I think if you walk away and say you don't know something about someone who helped you that week. So I love that there's so much diversity there, and everyone wants to come and work for you.
Exactly. You know, we have nearly 1-to-1 guest to crew ratio. So you really do build a relationship with the crew. And the nice thing about, again, the smaller ships with only about 200 crew on board, is that the crew is also very well aware of these efforts that we're doing. They're working in the galley. They see what is happening. They see the head chef taking off in the helicopter and going and collecting something from somewhere. So they're really proud to talk about it. Not only do we have in a number of our restaurants an open kitchen concept, so you can see it, but they're very happy to talk about it. And they feel good about working for a brand that takes this so seriously. As a matter of fact, another thing I learned today, another great tip, we only work with companies that are green certified. So our furniture, our paint, our wallpaper, our upholstery, every single vendor we work with has to be green certified. This is, again, partially easier because we have smaller ships. Our owner and his wife are the ones that do the design and the building, and they work firsthand with these people to make sure that they're green certified. And then another thing that we do is we have wallpaper on some of our ships. This was another tip that you can tell I had lunch today with one of our sustainability experts, because I learned all these really cool things. But the wallpaper that we have on some of our ships actually represents endangered species. And the reason we do that is because it sparks conversation, and then people are thinking more about endangered species and what we have to do as a community to make sure that we don't endanger them further, or there's not more species added to that list. So all these little things are not things you see in the marketing materials. It's not things that a lot of people talk about, but it really is something that is core to our being in everything that we do here at Scenic Group, to make sure that that is delivered the right way on board, and that we're doing the right thing for the community.
Well, and I think when you think about some of the destinations that you go to, when you can only have so many ships in a certain area because of the animals, and you can only go here at this time because of the animals and all that, it would be contradictory to not have that mindset throughout the company, but also the building of the ships and the passengers on board. It would not make sense.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, we
Seamless.
yeah, exactly right. I mean, we obviously one of our the best things that we do and we pride ourselves on is our experience in Antarctica. And the ships that do Antarctica were built to perform the best there. The good thing about that is they're luxury ships that get to perform in the Med and the Caribbean and other places as well. But when you're going through the Drake Passage, or when you're in these fragile areas in the polar regions, the ships perform incredibly well to make sure that we're protecting the environment and the wildlife and the marine life everywhere that we visit. It starts at the very, very early stages of where we want to go and what kind of ships we want to build.
So, and coming soon, Eclipse 2, right?
Well, Eclipse 2 is out. She's sailing. She came out this summer and she's been in the Med, and she's actually working her way over now to our neck of the woods. And we're going to have her in Boston and in Bermuda and Portland, Maine. And she's going to work her way down. She's going to be in Miami on October 21st. And then she's going to make her way through the Panama Canal and get over to Antarctica later on, in the November timeframe. So October is going to be a great opportunity for us to really introduce Scenic Eclipse 2 to the U.S. market. We're very excited about it.
Wonderful. Well, we thank you so much for being here today to share world tourism with us and just everything that Scenic is doing to promote healthy conservatory travel. So we thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate all your support, and really thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was great to see you again. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you guys. So our next two guests, I had the pleasure of experiencing their time on Scenic Cruises and some other ships as well, which we're going to talk about today. Please welcome Laura Bender and Andrea Miner. Are they here? There they are.
Hi.
Hi. You guys, we should say hello. Carrie, nice to see you. Carrie Fenwick is a newer agent with KHM, and Vicky and Ashley is on. So we're so excited for everyone to be on today and to talk a little bit about your experiences with expedition cruising. You both were on Scenic in last May. Did you experience a lot of what Kim was speaking about on that ship?
Absolutely. Yeah, we loved the experience on the ship. It was, true luxury. The idea of an expedition is so different than what we think about as average cruising. The care and the extra effort that they made to make sure that we were not using plastic, being, conscious of the environment, because we were in the Sea of Cortez, which is probably it's the nursery of the ocean, if you will, right? So it's an amazing experience, but every single thing that we did, whether it was the helicopter, the submarine, was taken with such care. And also you had to be flexible. If it wasn't a good day for it and we couldn't do it, that's part of being on an expedition, because it does change. But I do think that they truly make an amazing effort.
Do you think that's part of the conversation you're having with clients when you're doing a trip like that? Is, we always say, pack your patience. How much conversation do you have to have with the client before they do an expedition to say, things change, it's evolving, and here's why it's evolving?
I think the funny thing is when you get an itinerary or see an itinerary of like the Galapagos, Antarctica, some of these expedition locations, you will see that you leave, like on my situation, I left Ushuaia at 6 p.m. The next day was Drake Passage. The next day was Drake Passage. Then it said, explore Antarctica, captain's choice. Explore Antarctica, captain's choice. And it said it for the next 6 days till we got back to the Drake Passage. So it's not like a normal cruise itinerary where you're like, hey, we're landing here, we're porting here, that type of thing. It doesn't give you anything. So the conversation starts real early with the client.
Right.
That's really cool. And it leads perfectly into, Laura, when we when you spoke on Crystal,
Mm-hmm.
you said something that actually prompted this segment. And you were speaking about your time on the Celebrity Flora with Barb Quay, and you had been on that ship, and paraphrasing here, it's not a direct quote. It was along the lines of, I got on the ship and I just took it all in. And I just relaxed. And it was the first time maybe that you had just gone on something and not done a whole lot of planning and thoughtful thinking about the how and the where and the whatever. And I just thought that was such a really bold statement to make, especially when we are in the business of planning and making sure that every detail is covered, and we sometimes over communicate. For you to say that you went on this trip that's bucket list for many people and sat back was really powerful. So can you share a little bit about, like, was that just a knack? Did it just sort of happen, or was that intentional?
Well, I think it's probably part of qualifying your clients to understanding what they're looking for out of their vacation. I do so much Europe, and so many people want every single moment planned, booked, and their trajectory just laid out, so without any space for error or downtime. I think one of the things I love so much about the Celebrity Flora is that you have to let that go. You are truly on an expedition, and you are no longer in charge necessarily. I mean, you get to choose what you do. They say an easy hike, a moderate hike, a very difficult hike. But that's pretty much your biggest choice that day, and then what to have for dinner, because they literally systematically walk you through this process. They have everything so organized, and I love the inclusivity of Celebrity. They do an amazing job, down to everything that we did when we were in Quito, getting over to Baltra Island, everything, even to the point when we first get on the Zodiacs and how they manage, teaching you how to do your wetsuits and your fins. But they don't grab them from you and clean them. You do it yourself, which I found very refreshing. I love that. I do think that people are going to do an expedition need to understand that is what it is, kind of letting go of some of those preconceived notion about what your day is going to look like. Because the climate, the destination, the ship, the crew, they're going to dictate what your day looks like based on what's available and what we can do. And it's amazing. And the naturalists with Celebrity, most of them coming from Ecuador, they were just fabulous. And I just can't say enough about them.
Andrea, you sailed Antarctica last January, and then of course shortly after that it was the Sea of Cortez with Scenic, and I feel like once you got on board, you also, right, you had to do some planning to get there, but once you were on board, I feel like it was a very much of a someone else is in charge. I'm taking the back seat.
So it's funny, I was thinking about, as a travel advisor, I think the nature of the beast is research. We're all huge. We love to research. We love to know. So it was a very interesting feel to do Antarctica. Yes, you have to get there. So you have to get to Buenos Aires, and then they take it from there, getting you to Ushuaia. After that, it is out of your hands. And so I think even for a personality that I'm very controlling of everything, I had to just let go. And actually it was so wonderful, because it gave you the opportunity to take in what was around you. So in the afternoon, we were sailing the Drake Passage. And instead of thinking, oh, I've got to get to this, or I've got to go play bingo, or I got to do all these things to get in, you sat there and you watched the waves in the ocean, and you thought about like where you were in the world. Like I kept picturing myself, here's this globe, and I kept picturing myself clear down at the bottom, and couldn't believe I was there. And just the things you were seeing. One day we couldn't stop in a location. We had to go a little bit further, and we ended up in an ice field. And that's when we unloaded off the ship, and we went out on our Zodiacs, and literally were pushing ice slowly out of the way with our Zodiacs. And just those experiences, to me, they're priceless experiences. It's something that you could never plan, something that amazing.
Yeah. Right. And I think that's part of why I wanted you both to come on for this day. We think of World Tourism Day, and we've got these things that we kind of mark off, but I also think it's a mentality, it's a mindset of being able to appreciate and uncover and feel like a kid again in that moment of discovery. And no matter what that looks like. But I think for us in particular, because we do spend so much time researching and planning, to find those destinations where you can truly sit back and just take it all in. I don't know that there are many of them that people like us and with our personalities can truly sit back and just enjoy. And so that's what really struck me from both of you in speaking about these experiences. And that's why I felt they kind of just fit perfectly in to this episode, because it's just about enjoying travel on a really organic level. So I just think it's the coolest thing. Now, do you have another expedition destination that you're looking to go to?
I am obviously interested in doing Antarctica. I have a lot of interest in that. The Galapagos was an amazing opportunity for me. And the thing that I love the most about that, as I've mentioned before, that I really had no idea what to expect. And the fact that I pushed myself every day, as I mentioned, they say easy walk, moderate hike, really walk. I'm like, I'm doing the hard one, and there was a lot of hand holding and a walking stick and so on, but qualifying your clients, having them understand that there are options so you can do multi-generational trips on these. I think it's amazing. But my bucket list is so long, it's hard to say. But I will say that both of these experiences being expedition, I think that people post-COVID, I hate to even say the word, are looking for immersive experiences, especially seasoned travelers, understanding who may not have even thought about doing one of these destinations that is all of a sudden like, I'm so in, because nobody had given them that idea.
Yep.
And so I think that's our job as travel advisors, is to say, I know you want to go into the Mediterranean, you've done it 3 times, but what would you think about doing Antarctica? And the light bulb goes on. I love that part of what I do. And I think it's amazing when you get to have those experiences. So my bucket list is long. I can't really name everything right now. We don't have enough time on the show. So.
Well, and I think that your point is so true, that we shouldn't be afraid to say to the client, have you ever thought about this?
Right.
I have some retirees right now that have bandwidth, and I just keep sending them ideas, because they've kind of done the easy things because of work schedules and things like that. And now time is more available to them. And every time I send them something, they're like, ooh, that looks so great. I have yet to get a no from them.
And I do think that people understanding that there's a space and time in life and an age and a fitness that you have to do these types of things. And again, as I mentioned about celebrity, there is multi-generational opportunities, because you can do, 3 various types of activities and so on. So you can go enjoy being with the kids and the grandkids. But if you want to get out on a glacier, or you want to, get out and do the zodiacs, whether it's a Sea of Cortez or the Galapagos, you have to understand what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And I think people should do it when they're young and fit, to where they can truly enjoy it.
Yeah. Andrea, anything on your list?
So since I did one circle, I want to do the other circle. So I'd like to go point to point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it would be really fun to, I saw the penguins, let's go see the polar bears.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that long time, I would like to get to the Galapagos. I just think I think that would be an amazing trip. I do.
The video footage is always very enticing whenever you see it. It you just kind of salivate at the end of your chair going, oh, there will be a time I can do that.
Well, I think too, the other part, like when you do trips like this, for me, there will always be before I went to Africa, after I went to Africa. The same is true with the Galapagos. The Sea of Cortez was a surprise and an amazing experience. And so I think when we say those things to our clients, it's going to pique their interest. Right. Even if it's not at that moment, it could be 2 years from now, but the seed is already planted when you say something. So.
And the thing is too, when mentioning it to your clients, when people hear something like Antarctica, the first thing they think is, oh gosh, I don't want to get through the Drake Passage. That's like the first thing they think of. There is options to explore along those lines. And then the other thing too, that a lot of people don't understand is they think expedition, they think like, going to get your dinner out of the metal bowl, and like you're wearing, they really do think that way. So it's our job too to educate that, my first day on board when I was in Antarctica, a lobster, that's not too bad, So, I think it is a lot, because I think people do have those YouTube pictures in their head. They don't exactly know there's different opportunities for them.
Andrea, before I let you guys go, I want you to share with everyone your polar plunge experience. Because I thought this takes guts, and you did it, and I thought it was the coolest thing, and the best pictures too.
It did. So it was very fun. They, with expedition cruising, they take you out in small groups because they only have so many zodiacs. So they called you downstairs, actually, in small groups. And everybody before then is in the lounge, and there's music pumping and like getting everybody amped up, and everybody's sitting in their ropes. You go down the stairs, and then you start to realize that you are jumping in water that has like slush on the top of it. So it is like not frozen, but it is really darn close. So we get out into the plank. You have to kind of ditch your robe at that point. So you're standing there in your swimsuit, and they put a belt around you that is tied to a rope. And you go out, and they say, just jump straight out. You have a cameraman that takes pictures of you the whole time, which mine wasn't that fabulous, but you jump in, and it's hilarious because by the time you jump in and you're being pulled, they almost pull you back in, and they have someone waiting right there to like yank you out of the water. You're not cold. You haven't thought about being cold. Your body hasn't reacted to being cold. It's not till you come back on the ship, they hand you, in our situation, they hand you tea or a shot of tequila. And at that moment, it was, I am so cold right now. And you start shivering at that point. So it takes a little bit for your body to even understand you just jumped in that. But it was a great, everybody couldn't believe that I did it. And I am so glad that I did.
And that's the pushing the limits that Laura spoke about is when are you going to have this opportunity again?
Right. 100%.
It might never come again. So you have to live in the moment.
Yep.
Ashley here says, I'm so anxious to do more expedition cruises. My bucket list grows daily. I can completely relate to that. So, well, ladies, it was so great to see you. And thank you for sharing your insights. Every time we speak, I literally just want to get on a plane and go and experience what you've had the opportunity to do. And I know my time is coming. I just have to be patient. So, but I really appreciate you celebrating World Tourism Day with me today.
It's very fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you guys. And enjoy Delta Vacation University this weekend, Laura, Andrea. Enjoy the Colorado weather. That's still going to be nice this weekend. So, but great to see you both.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right, you guys, thanks so much for joining us today from Houston. Thank you to our sponsors for their continued support of KHM Today, especially our overall sponsor, Apple Leisure Group. Thank you so much, Ken, for joining us today and sharing everything that Scenic is doing to cherish the planet. Next week, we welcome MSC for National Taco Day, and we are going to have a really special agent with us who is the #1 seller for MSC weddings. And she just happens to be a KHM agent. So we hope to see you all next week. Check out our Facebook page and Instagram for pictures later on today of the Carnival Your Winning Plan event. You guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you. We'll see you soon.